Hi, welcome to our Tucson Student Ministries podcast. We are a peer-to-peer ministry that uses performing arts, connections, and conversations to provide knowledge of healthy life choices to the students of Tucson. Our goal is with this podcast, is to reach our community, and we just want to bring life lessons, some stories, and some experts. We want to invite them to come on and speak on issues that students are struggling with. If you are a student, parent, or just someone who interacts with students, welcome. We'd love to have you here. Now, let's get on to the podcast. Hello, everybody. So we just wanted to welcome you back to our podcast. Today, we have our special guest, Tyler. So he's a student in our local community, and he's a pretty cool guy. So tell me about yourself. Who is Tyler?
Who's Tyler? I'm Tyler. I like long walks on the beach. Just little things in life. Not actually. So my name's Tyler. Like John said, I live in the little community out here. I'm a high schooler. Trying to think what else. I play volleyball. I enjoy weightlifting. I like that.
Pretty beefy.
Just like living life as a high schooler, but
Nice.
as like a good high schooler.
Yeah.
Not a crazy one. I'm a tame guy, very laid back, chill guy. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So today we're going to be talking to Tyler about just high school and trying to get a deeper look into students' perspective on the culture surrounding us right now. So, Tyler, first question for you. What is the largest struggle you've noticed in students right now?
So definitely largest struggle in high schoolers, and it's kind of surprising in middle schoolers, is I've seen especially just depression, and not necessarily even being like kids just being diagnosed with depression, but just sadness in general. Kids are pretty bummed out. Workloads can get tough, and living as a high schooler in 2022 can actually be very stressful.
Yeah.
Even as a middle schooler. So people are just pretty bummed out, and especially after COVID, people just are bummed out. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
People are sad because they were alone for a long time, and then they're like, oh wow, find that hope.
No, I feel that. So let's see here. So how have you brought up COVID? So how have things changed since COVID?
Yeah, so whether that be in like your school or even in your home life, COVID definitely wrecked a few things in my life, I know. But we'll start first in school. I know some teachers, it's different with every teachers, but some teachers have gotten a little less on the workload, whether that be in homework or just things in class. They've kind of eased up on that a little bit, I've found, just because it's just teachers are like, wow, people actually have lives. And like they're looking at COVID and like kids are already stressed enough.
Yeah.
They don't need 5 hours of homework every night. That doesn't help. And then just social skills in general. People have we kind of saw like, wow, like us being social is actually really important for us as human beings.
Yeah.
And so that being taken away from us, just for like, even if it was only a few months we weren't able to see like family or friends, I think that was really hard for a lot of people. So it was kind of taken for granted. And I think that happens a lot in life. We take things for granted so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think we really took for granted just the idea of being social with other people. And so, COVID's just kind of like rocked your world, but it's also a wake-up call of like, what? Today I'm not going to sit inside and like be on TikTok. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go talk to people. I'm going to go talk to my friends today because, I love them for who they are. And I want to spend time with them because I don't know when that time will be my last,
That's very interesting. We had a teacher on last month who was talking about some of that and like talking about the social skills and the social aspect of like what COVID did.
Mm-hmm.
And he found that a lot of the students he was noticing their social skills had declined a lot because of COVID. Do you feel like that's something similar you've seen or like?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it depends on what lens you're kind of looking through it at. Especially for me and people in my friend group, we've kind of seen like, wow, like us being together at school every day is something that we just take advantage of.
Yeah.
And so we're like, actually, we're going to try and be more social with each other. We're going to go and try and do more things because we saw what happened when we weren't able to be with each other and everyone was pretty bummed out. So, But then I guess if you're looking at it through the lens of a teacher, you're seeing these kids who are probably sad, stressed out now because of other reparations of COVID that have happened. And they're just stressed out with school or just their home life. And so they're just like, what? I just have to go to school and get through the day. I don't have to talk to anyone. I can just like eyes forward and just go for it.
Yeah.
So, it depends on where you're looking at it from.
Yeah.
But like 50-50, man. Yeah.
No, I feel you. Okay, so here's another question going off of that. Do you feel like teachers have been really helpful through this period of like, Or like how have teachers been helping you? What does that look like?
I think teachers have done an amazing job
Let's go.
of yeah, for real. Like,
Yeah.
they've done a really great job of like especially just since after COVID. Like again, like they're just seeing like these kids like have been really struggling, and they're like, wow, maybe we should ease up on our homework load. Maybe we should ease up on certain things because that I don't need to put more stress in a kid's life. As a teacher, you don't want to add things to a kid's life. You just want to be there and be there to help them learn through things.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a stress adder or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so here's another question for you. So adults often talk about social media in a pretty negative light of like, it's terrible. It's changing the youth. All this fun stuff, right?
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
How they get you.
That's how they get you.
So as a student, how do you feel like social media has impacted you and like your peers and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I think again, it's one of those 50-50 things. Social media can be one of the greatest things that has ever been created, and it also is like the like epitome of like the very worst thing, like bottom of the barrel. Like I think there's days where I wake up and I'm like, man, I wish social media wasn't a thing today because like there's things on there that are terrible. But then for a few examples of how social media can help, you can reach out to people. Maybe you're trying to get a job somewhere and you're seeing like how to learn how to do your job. Like for one things I actually do, I run sound at a local church. So one thing I'll do is like, I don't know how to EQ something. So then I'll go look it up and be like, wow, that's actually really cool. Now I know how. So social media has helped just like you can learn little things off social media. Being a student athlete, it has really helped of just being outreach to colleges, and that is super positive because I know like 30 years ago you have to like you can like write a letter and then you send that letter to the college and then they're like, actually we don't want you, and then they send a letter back and you're like, oh man.
Dang.
It's a lot easier for you to just get your name out there. It's a lot easier for TSM to get their name out there.
Woo.
I think if social media wasn't a thing, I don't think TSM would be where it is today, just because of TSM's made a huge impact on social media, I believe. Yeah. So
nice.
It's just one of those 50-50 things of how are you looking at it, and I think it also has helped. I think it actually did help for COVID,
Yeah.
I think it helped a lot of kids get through some tough times that they were going through, help them feel maybe a little bit more connected.
Nice.
So I think that in that positive way it's affected, but there's those negatives too. There's things on social media that hasn't been there, that shouldn't be there, not hasn't been there. It just creates a lot of sadness in people's lives. Maybe they're like looking things on social media and they're like, man, I wish I was really like them. I wish I was as cool as them. But then you also remember like, dude, that person's probably like edited the photo. That's like their entire life revolves around that one thing that they're trying to do. So you can't compare yourself to that, man. That's what they like. That's what their job is. So. Yeah.
No, I get that. Also, if you want some positivity in your life, go follow the TSM social medias. We are on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're also on YouTube.
They're everywhere, bro.
Everywhere except Twitter.
Dog.
Not Twitter.
Yeah. R.I.P. Twitter.
R.I.P. Twitter. They're missing out.
They are, man.
Okay, so you mentioned being a student athlete.
Yes.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Do you feel like there's a large difference in like the struggles you're noticing with regular students versus student athletes? And if so, what are those differences?
Yeah, one thing I've kind of found that student athletes may like struggle with more is, again, it comes back to that homework load that they have, because maybe they do have practice every night. Maybe they do have practice after school. And then once they finish that practice, which it's usually late night, you're probably really tired. You don't want to go home and do 3 hours of schoolwork. So that's a big effect I've seen. And that just ends up creating more stress for athletes and just students in general.
Yeah.
Even if you like have a club or something going on after school, no one wants to finish with their 2-hour club where they're like being social and then come home and then have to do more homework. So that's one effect I've seen. Another effect I've seen is actually drugs and alcohol has been huge, especially in teenagers. It's kind of sad, really, how easy it is to just access those things and how easy it is for kids to get a hold of that and do it. And I think the reason is it starts with varsity athletes who maybe are a little bit older. They know older people. So they're like, yeah, we're going to go out drinking tonight after the game. And it's just the culture that they are a part of. And then those JV athletes, who are looking up to these varsity athletes, and they're like, man, those guys are really cool. Like, we should be like them. And the varsity athletes are like, if you want to be like us, bro, you can come on. We're going to go to the bar tonight after the game, and you can come drinking with us.
Team bonding.
Yeah, team bonding. We're going to the bar. Definitely not the move. So, yeah, I think those JV athletes really look up to those varsity athletes, and they see that happening. And it's not even – it couldn't even be peer pressure. It just could be those JV athletes wanting to be like those other people. Yeah. And it's the only way that they seem like they can fit in a way. So it's not even they're even pressured into it. It's just something that it's just like, all right, it's there. Like what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
And then by that effect, these JV athletes might be out drinking and smoking every night. And then if they do that, then they go to college. Dude.
I was like, we're doing a podcast. I'm not gonna say this time.
Yeah. So these JV athletes are like drinking and smoking every night. Even varsity athletes too. Like if you're trying to go play in college, like college coaches, one, they don't really like that, and then two, it affects your health and it affects your mental health.
Oh yeah.
Definitely 100%. Because even like as a high schooler, your brain isn't fully developed.
Yeah.
So if you are drinking and smoking, that alcohol messes with your brain, nicotine messes with your brain.
Yeah.
So it's one of those big things. It's just like you're kind of just ruining, your college experience because you're going to be sitting on the sidelines of those games.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I wish I was out there. I wish I didn't go out and party in high school.
Yeah.
Because then I would be out there. Because you can't breathe,
Yeah.
Or something's wrong. Yeah.
And it's interesting you bring all that up because I was thinking about it the other day, and like the fact that alcohol and like nicotine and all these different things and drugs that you're like bringing up, it's like it's used as a coping mechanism as well. I've noticed like what you're talking about with like the stress and stuff, whether it's stress with games or stress with homework,
Stress with clubs or
stress
something.
with clubs, stress with home life, like all these things, and then using like alcohol and nicotine drugs as like a coping mechanism ends up messing you up more, and then it becomes dependent, and then it just becomes a cycle, and it's terrible how it happens. But I get it, but it's also
Yeah, it's just so sad to see, man, because I'm seeing even friends of mine, I'm seeing friends and amazing athletes, 5-star athletes who are lifting heavy, they're fast guys, and girls too. They're doing these things, and I'm just like, I just feel bad for them because I'm like, dude, if you know what's happening in the long run, you're not just they're just enjoying life as a high schooler when there's more to your life as a high schooler.
Yeah. No, I get that. I really get that. I mean, like I think back and like I was in like a math class, and I created a group chat with some friends.
Yeah.
And they all texted, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna be drinking while we do homework tonight." I was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." And then they like just kept texting about it every other night. They'd be doing it, and I'm like, "How are you getting math done?" And then they wouldn't come in with their homework.
Yeah, or something would happen.
Like that.
Yeah, and then that starts to affect, like once that comes from your home life, or even if it does stem from your home life, or even if it does stem from your school life, those things are interchangeable. They tend to affect each other. If you're doing something at school that you shouldn't be doing at home, that usually bleeds into your home life. And then you're like, well, now I'm kind of in a sticky situation, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing something in a place I shouldn't be.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it's really sad. I feel you. It's very sad. Okay, so for your friends that you say are doing this and stuff like that, how can you be a good friend to them? What does that look like? Or just in general, what does it look like to be a good friend?
Being a good friend, I think, is one of the hardest things that anyone can ever do, man. It's a struggle. Definitely one of the hardest things you can do. I think the basis of being a good friend is just being someone that that they can just listen to, that they can just talk to. You don't even have to give an answer. You can just be, listening. They're going through something. As long as you're just listening to them, sometimes someone just needs to talk it out. I've known many times we've had conversations. Yeah. And it's just like, dude,
what?
like, yeah. And it's just sometimes it's just like, let me just talk this out and plan it out and see what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
Coming out of my mouth,
Yeah.
And then I can be like different pieces and be like, well, actually, that was a really stupid idea. Yeah. And John's just like, yeah, it kind of was. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So it's not even John just like giving me an answer. He's kind of just letting me figure it out for myself. So I think if you let people, it sounds kind of sad, but if you kind of let people figure it out instead of just giving them the answer, it's usually better off in the long run because they see the consequences of their actions and they're like, I shouldn't do that. Instead of you just being like, you actually shouldn't be drinking or smoking, or you shouldn't be doing this. If they see those long-term effects, maybe in something that happens short-term, like they run out of breath in practice, and then you kind of bring it up and you're just like, yeah, that probably is because you're drinking and smoking every night. And they're just like, yeah. And you're like, you see what that can do? And they're like, yeah. And they see that and they're like, wow, thank you for just listening to me, man. So I think being a good friend, it just comes back to just listening to someone. As long as you're just there for them. Yeah.
No, and I get that. And I very much feel that as well. Like, I mean, I've done it with you too, just sharing stuff. And then like, I noticed one thing in my life as well is like when I'm sharing things with people and they give me advice and they're like, hey, this is what you need to do. Off the bat, I'm sitting there and I'm like,
no,
I'm not going to do
why
that.
Would I do that?
Why would I? No, I'm going to live my life my way. And then I end up messing it up because they were right. But it's also like, it's one of those things. And so I think that point of like listening to people, validating people's emotions, maybe not encouraging the bad behavior, but being there for them and
But
being
holding their hand and being like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And it's so difficult because that
because you want to see,
you want to share what you have, like you want to give them
and
the
you want to
advice.
help them grow, and you want to see them be this amazing person. But
Yeah, and
sometimes the giant needs to fall, man.
yeah,
Sometimes you gotta fall down a little bit, get a little kick in the booty. You
dude,
know?
it's that humbling thing. Like
It
you gotta
is.
like humble yourself,
100%, man.
put others before yourself, lower yourself, and so you can raise other people up.
Exactly.
Like not in like a bad way, but like you know what I
But
mean.
yeah, I feel you.
So, what is your opinion on counselors in schools? Like, is that a resource that you use? Is that a resource that you think you would use? What
Yeah.
would you say?
Funny thing, I actually like don't use my counselor at school. It's really bad. I probably should. I just not the kind of guy who does that. So, but I think schools actually do a really great job of just outreaching to kids, or at least trying to outreach to kids. And I think the biggest problem isn't actually counselors. I think the biggest problem is the kids themselves.
Interesting.
Kids are seeing their problems and stuff, and they're seeing these things, and they're like, I could go get help, or I could just not. And you made me lose my train of thought. Not you, but like.
No, but I get. But that's something interesting too. Is like that point of like it's difficult for kids to get help, not because the resources aren't there, but because it's just difficult. It's just a very hard thing to do to be like, I am struggling with something.
I need help. Yeah,
I need help.
And I think it's even more difficult for high schoolers because like everyone wants to be like the big bad high schooler who's like, I don't need help. My life is fine. I'm on top of the
I'm
world
trying to be
right now.
independent.
Yeah, you're in that stage of life where you're just like, like I'm just me right now, and I'm just gonna focus on me. I don't need any help. Like let's just focus on what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah.
But you need people in your life that can be like, actually, you kind of do need help because you're falling a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes back to that thing we were talking about like listening to people. You do need somebody to listen to you and give you that gentle correction and walk with you through it.
Yeah. I like you said gentle correction because it's not like it's not that firm correction because once someone says I shouldn't do something, guaranteed I'm going to go and do it.
Yeah.
Just because they're talking to me and I just maybe I want to make them mad. Maybe I just don't want to listen to them because I'm a rebellious high schooler.
Yeah. Dude, I've been there.
Yeah,
I feel that.
exactly.
I feel that. Oh man, and I think that's something really interesting too. Is like, I think one thing I realized with my counselors is that they made me feel like I wasn't alone, and that was something as a high schooler, as a student, just as
you really need.
I really needed because again, it's that I'm breaking out on my own. I'm independent now.
You're finding who you are as a person.
Exactly. And so knowing that I'm not alone in that, or knowing that my problems aren't scary to somebody, or that like they're willing to walk with me
and
through
that
it.
other people are actually going through the same thing as you. That's crazy.
No,
Who
it's
would have
crazy.
thought of that,
No, I get that. I really get that. So here's a question actually. What do your friends mean to you? Like what role do they play in your life? How does that work? We kind of talked about being a good friend and what that looks like. Let's tie that back in.
Yeah. So I think friends and family, I think I tie those two pretty closely because I think if you have close friends, they can be considered family. So I definitely have a list of things in my life that just like top 5 things that I need to have in my life. So number 1, you always got to have God.
Boom.
Sometimes it's a little rough, sometimes a little rocky, sometimes you forget. And which is another thing, like I think we forget so much like how much God has done for us.
Yeah.
He gives us beautiful places. He gave us the table. He gave us each other that we could be there for each other when it's needed. Yeah. I think we just take for granted so many things that God has given us. Even just sending his son on the cross. And the idea of the gospel, I think it's just amazing that he was able to do that. I think we forget that so many times. We forget, just the essence of God and who he is, like the literal creator of the universe. I think that is crazy.
And he wants to have that personal relationship with us.
100%.
Like, and that's for me is always so mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Is that fact that like he's created all of this. He's so ginormous and huge and outside of space and time, yet he still wants to have a personal relationship.
He still wants to know you.
Still wants to know you.
So and I think having him is at number 1 on my list. Definitely slip in that, definitely have slipped in that and still do struggle with it. Just trying to glorify God in everything I say, I do. It's very hard to keep yourself on track. And that's why you have other good friends to keep you accountable. But I do think second on that list is friends and family because those two tie very close together. Yeah. Because without friends and family, I wouldn't be where I am today. I don't think you would be where you are today.
I would not be where I am today.
I don't think, it's crazy how much they can affect your life.
Yeah.
How much the crowd that you are around with your friends and the crowd that your family is can affect your life.
And that's interesting that you bring up that point of like the crowd that you're around and how they affect your life. Like, 'cause I've been there. I've been around certain people and I realize like there are certain groups that I've been a part of in my life that like when I'm around them, I become a lot more dramatic.
Yeah.
I become a lot more
I'm
depressed.
I'm not glorifying God.
Exactly.
In everything I do.
And there's other groups of people that when I'm around them, I am more honoring because
Mm-hmm.
they're more honoring. I am more kind to people because they're more kind to
Because
people.
they're keeping you accountable. With
Exactly. It's being that example, like what you were talking about earlier about varsity players and then JV players looking up to them and stuff. It's very interesting how that concept works too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I do think that you need to have, like, you definitely have friends and family. You can have hundreds of friends and you can have a huge family, but I do think you need some core people, core adults in your life that you can really just go to at any time. And I think everyone, if you don't have someone in your life, man, that you can go to at any time, try and find someone, man. Just someone. It doesn't even have to be like, it can just be like your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And they can just be there for you.
A trusted adult is what it often gets referred to.
Yes. Yes.
Which I personally like that. Definitely have like 2 or 3 trusted adults in my life that I know that if I have a problem, I can go to them and they're ready to answer my call. And if they can't answer my call, they'll call me back.
They're gonna try and help me however I can.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
In any way possible.
Exactly. So let's see. So what role does like a trusted adult play in your life? How helpful do you feel like that is for students? How helpful do you feel like that is for you?
Yeah. So trusted adults, definitely, just like you said, have just like 2 or 3 key people in my life who I'm just like, I know whenever I go to them, they're going to try and help me. They're going to be good friends and they're going to listen. They're not going to try and give me an answer. They're going to let me figure it out sometimes. And maybe sometimes they will give me an answer.
Yeah.
And some, because 100% sometimes that answer is needed.
Yeah.
So I think those trusted adults can be there for you. I just forgot.
No, you're good. And I feel that. I really agree with that. And I find it interesting too because like students a lot of times rely on their friends a lot for that position, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think the area that we as students often forget about is the fact that like our friends are also going through life as well. I mean, trusted adults are going through life as well, but like they also are experiencing everything we're experiencing at the exact same time. So I think that's why it's important to have a adult mentor or like somebody, like whether that's a school counselor, whether that's a teacher, whether that's a coach, whether that's just somebody you can rely on that's experienced a little bit more life than you.
Yeah.
I think it's just very
important,
very essential to life.
And it's a special relationship that you can have.
Yeah.
It's very different than a peer-to-peer relationship.
Yeah.
Because you know this person, like you said, they've gone through more life than you. They've definitely experienced more things than you. So they're able to help you out with maybe things that your friends can't help you out with, or maybe other family members can't help you out with.
Yeah. Okay, so here's another question for you. So I noticed we were talking about depression a bit earlier, and when we talked about alcohol and drugs and all this, and we talked about how that's like a coping mechanism. So what alternative coping mechanisms have you learned about, have you used like outside of that and these things?
Yeah.
For like when you're going through stuff.
Yeah, especially when I'm going through stuff, talking to people, I think it's very essential. Something I need to do better. Just talking through my problems and maybe seeing how like actually dumb what I actually am thinking is.
Yeah.
And people can point that out.
Did I feel that?
Yeah, just being able to talk it out is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
Ever. Being able to talk out your problems. It's the number one solution. There's other ideas, other things like drugs and alcohol. And those might feel good for a little bit, but in the long run, that's going to affect you down the road. And that's not going to be really good. Another thing is lifting. I like to go to the gym.
Boom.
You know,
Getting
like to get swole.
Yeah.
You know, and just being in that element, you know, of just like lifting weights and feeling big.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me feel good. And
Yeah.
maybe it is like drugs and alcohol. I don't know, but it feels good. It works for me. Another thing is it sounds kind of crazy, but I grew up in like the Church of Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like a cappella music, oh my gosh, so great. Because it's just like God gave you this amazing voice and you're using it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't have anything against instruments, man. I love instrumental music.
He's like, burn all the instruments, get rid of them.
Open up the heavens, man. But yeah, but just a cappella music, there's just something about it that just kicks something onto my system.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is truly beautiful because it's something that God created for you and gave you, and you're using it
I like
to
that.
glorify Him. You know, there's no like instrument. It's just you and a choir and other people who are in fellowship with you and worship with you and just trying to worship God, you know?
I like
So
that.
yeah, those are like 3 things. I'm just like, I know if I'm going through something, I can go to those 3 things and it's just like, boom.
Boom.
Like I might be good.
Boom.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. What about you? What are some of your coping mechanisms?
Ooh, I really like that first one of talking to people. I love talking to people, whether that's communicating my problems with somebody or whether that's just talking to some random person. Like,
Yeah.
I love talking to the guys at the gas station, being like, "Hey, how's your day going?"
Just the cashier.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the barista. And like, I love those conversations a lot. The small, just how are you doing?
Because you never know when that
Making
can
a
make
joke.
someone's day.
Exactly. Making people smile really makes me feel a lot better. Um, I think another thing I really like to do is I like to journal and like draw and write. Like, it's just a way to be creative, a way to get out of whatever emotional state I'm in just by creating something.
Yeah.
I think the differences between like negative coping mechanisms and positive coping mechanisms are the differences between like creating and destroying. So like I feel like a lot of negative coping mechanisms either destroy your body or they might give you a little bit of like peace and a little bit of happiness, joy right now, but at the end of the road they're destroying something.
Yeah, they're destroying relationships in your life too.
Exactly. And so I find it very like fascinating versus like positive coping mechanisms like doing art, going for a walk, hitting the gym, talking to people.
It's being creative.
Even if that's like
creating something.
You're creating something. Even if that's just you're sitting in your own space dealing with your emotions, listening to music, whatever that is, like you're still creating something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I just was thinking about that. I'm like, that's very fascinating.
Yeah.
I think my final coping mechanisms is sometimes I like to edit my photos.
Yeah.
I find it very therapeutic sometimes.
Sometimes it's stressful.
And then sometimes it's stressful.
You're like, when I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Like if I have like a movie on or like music playing, I'm just like, I'm mad at something, I start editing. Oh, here's another one. Putting away laundry. Funny enough.
You like putting away laundry?
Yes. Like it's very therapeutic. It's like it's in my control. I'm controlling it.
All right, man.
I'm like listening to music
you.
as I'm putting away. I'm like hanging up shirts and stuff, like folding my pants. I'm like, this is all in my control. I do it at night, typically.
Technically
doing it at night.
In his room at like 2
In my room.
Like folding clothes.
More like 10, but.
That's like nighttime. That's like my bedtime.
It's very therapeutic, though.
All right, whatever. Hey, I'm not here to judge, man.
I'm just saying.
I ain't no expert.
I
am far from an expert.
But like not removing myself, but taking myself out of whatever negative situation so I can think about whatever was going on.
Yeah.
And so like that's what that helps me do a lot is it's taking me out of whatever mindset I was in so I can now process that and deal with that. And so I don't know, for me it helps a lot. I enjoy it.
That goes hard.
Yeah. And then I'm doing a chore at the same time. I'm like doing something productive.
It's a double whammy.
It's creating.
Yeah, you're creating less work.
Exactly. Oh man. Okay, here's another question for you.
All right.
If you could give a piece of advice to students, what would that be?
Piece of advice to students.
Yeah, because I know from my experience, a lot of students are going through a lot of really heavy things right now. Like, this is not an easy time to be a student.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy things going on, whether that's wars going on, whether that's COVID going on, whether that's school shootings.
Or home life. Your home life can be wild.
Oh my goodness. I think the statistic right now is there's a 50% divorce rate.
Yeah, like that's
absurd. That's stressful because you're a student and not
stressful as a kid because you're seeing your parents like, I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff going around right now for students. So I mean, you can give your opinion on that or just a piece of advice you have. Like, what are you thinking?
I don't know, man. Piece of advice I've kind of found is that it sounds very like, what's the word?
Cliche?
Yeah, like it sounds very cliche. But you just got to give it to God, man.
Yeah.
End of the day, you're one thing that my youth pastor likes to say is like, you're not going to get into heaven because you got an A on your math test. Or you're not going to not get into heaven because you got an F on your math test.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things are very important. So I think one realization that I've kind of come to is there's a lot of material things that I think are important, but in the long run, they're not super important. And it's kind of coming to that realization of like, you know what? Maybe me doing this right now isn't the best thing I could be doing, isn't the most important thing in my life. So why should I be caring about it? That doesn't mean you stop caring about it. Yeah. But that means maybe you kind of take a step back and you look at it, you examine it, and you're like, how could I be doing this better? Or how could I glorify God when I'm doing? So very cliche, but give it to God and stop caring so much about your grades.
Interesting.
I know I sound crazy, but
what weight do you feel like a lot of students carry their grades? Or like, how do students think about their grades?
I think kids think their grades is like the end of the world, their personality. And I think that actually comes from a lot of pressure from parents too. Okay. A lot of kids who are like, dude, if I fail this test, my mom's going to kill me.
Yeah.
So I
Interesting.
think a lot of that pressure comes from parents. Comes from teachers. It could even come from peers.
Yeah.
If you're in some sort of scholar program and you're
Mm.
seeing all your peers being successful, it's very hard to like if everyone else aced the test and you failed the test.
Yeah.
Like, it's very hard to get through. So and that just creates more stress in your life because you're like,
Mhm.
man, like I fell behind on this assignment. I'm behind on this test.
Yeah.
Everyone else is ahead. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? And then it's kind of coming to that realization of tying it back of just like, at the end of the day, like this class that I'm in, it is going to help me in the long run. Might
Yeah.
get me into college, but does it really matter?
Yeah.
What even matters?
What even matters?
What even matters, man?
Whoa, that's a different topic.
That's a
another time.
that's a crazy
That's a crazy
question.
topic. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, for real. Like,
Oh, it's interesting you bring up that pressure because like I've noticed too with like COVID and stuff, a lot of students are out of the classroom or have health issues and so can't be in the classroom or are taking a mental day to take the day off.
Yeah.
And then they're behind on all their assignments and then it just keeps compounding and compounding and compounding. And so for a student who's already struggling with grades or worried about their grades or who has it on their mind 24/7, it's a very interesting concept because it's is it qualitative or quantitative?
qualitative is quality, quantitative is numbers.
Quantitative
that
way
helps you.
of judging a person.
Okay.
I think that's how it can be correctly put.
Okay.
Of like you're evaluating yourself based off a number. You're evaluating
That's
yourself based off a letter.
That's
A letter.
quantitative then.
Oh, okay, then quantitative.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I actually think I find it interesting. How you mentioned kids taking mental health breaks.
Yeah.
I think COVID, like I kind of said earlier, it's a wake up call.
Yeah.
A lot of kids and students and teachers and even just adults in general are just like, what, kids are struggling with mental health.
Yeah.
And we should be helping that.
Yeah.
We should
yeah.
let kids take mental days off because kids need them.
Yeah.
Kids have stressful lives, which is what I've been
Oh my goodness.
talking
Yeah.
about this entire time. Kids,
Yeah.
It might not seem like it, but some kids have super stressful lives.
Yeah.
More stress than is needed on a high schooler,
Exactly.
So I think one thing I've kind of seen is kids feel there's some kids who don't, and there's some kids who do feel comfortable taking just a mental health day, or maybe just talking to their parents or talking to whoever's watching over them, being like, hey, like I actually don't really need to want to go to school today. I just
Yeah.
need a mental health day. And I've
Yeah.
seen some parents who've been like, dude, that's totally okay. That's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
we're glad you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, COVID is kind of just a wake up call for that. Of
Yeah.
kids, like taking mental health days is a normal thing.
Yeah.
It should be a normal thing.
Yeah.
And should be something that's encouraged.
I agree with that. I very much agree with that. I mean, I remember being in high school and being like overloaded with a bunch of stuff and being like, I just need a day.
Back in my
I just
day.
need back in my day. I
Back
just
in my
needed to take a day off.
I walked to school.
Uphill both ways in the snow.
Mental health days. Take one if you need one.
Yeah.
Definitely needed.
Yeah.
I've taken one, man. It's amazing. You sit at home and you're just like, wow,
Wow.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Sit at home. Doesn't even matter if you're like, even on TikTok all day. Just
Yeah.
a day of rest.
That-
taking a day to sit back, relax, and not care.
I very much agree with that. I think that's super important, especially like what you said about that day of rest. Because I know I'd take like mental health days and then just like
And then you end up working all day.
then I end up like doing homework all day, which is fine. That's
Yeah.
okay. You're allowed to do that.
Yes.
But also I wasn't taking the day that I needed to take. I needed to take the day, just rest, get a nap, eat
Yeah.
some good food, drink some water.
Be in your Bible, be in prayer if you
Exactly,
can.
exactly.
And those things can really just like smooth over your life.
Oh my
A
goodness.
lot of
Yeah.
things kind of off topic too, but one thing I've noticed in my life too is like whenever I'm in my Bible or I'm in prayer or I'm in fellowship with other Christians who are talking to God and they're in their Bibles in prayer,
Yeah.
my life goes so much smoother than
Yeah.
whereas when I'm not in my Bible or not in prayer, or if one is without the other, then maybe life is a little less smoother, but
Yeah.
it's still better. As long as I have one of those in my life,
Yeah.
I do feel a sense of contentment. Just
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm actually really trying. And it makes you want to try harder because you're like, look at how good my life is with this like little amount of taking like 10 minutes every day to just read your Bible.
Yeah.
Another 10 minutes to be in prayer. Like, think about what your life could be like if you took 20 minutes.
Dude, I really
Like,
feel
ain't that, isn't that
I
crazy?
really feel that.
Like, that's crazy.
And it's so cool too because like now you have the Bible app on your phone, so you can take it anywhere.
Yeah, literally.
And,
I think that's crazy too.
I find like technology is so cool because of that. Because like it's
That's
just-
another positive social media, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you can have the entire Bible on your phone, and it's
Yeah.
in our language.
Yeah. And like it's really customizable as well, which is just it's weird to say the Bible's customizable.
But you're not wrong.
But you can,
There's
like-
different translations and
Dude,
everything.
you can highlight in whatever color you
Yeah,
want.
like sometimes, like, man, I
make
really feel
graphics.
like John 3:16 needs to be pink
yeah.
because pink is like
Pink?
Awesome.
Heck yeah. So, okay, so here's another question for you. How do you feel like, we kind of covered this a little bit, but like, what do you feel like schools are doing to help students with their mental health?
Yeah.
What resources are given? What resources would you recommend
Yeah.
as a student? Like, we are here to try to help schools as well be better.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help be better ourselves for schools. So, like, what can we do and what can schools do?
Yeah. I think schools actually do a really great job of being outreach to their kids and just trying
Nice.
to help them out in any way they can.
Yeah.
Like just maybe like a little lesson. Maybe instead of doing like math one day, you do like a mental health lesson or just something
Yeah.
small. Maybe something that just makes someone's day. So I think schools actually do a really great job. I think the problem is actually the students.
Oh, we did discuss this a little bit.
We did.
Yeah.
Where it's just the students just don't want to engage into it because it's just like just another like mental health talk, you know. And one thing I found
Yeah.
is just like kids just don't want to engage because they're just like, why am I going to engage in this? Like, what's
Yeah.
the point? When it is really important,
Yeah.
it's something that does need to be talked about. But I think the problem is the kids, and like we were kind of saying, like you have a counselor
Mhm.
that is like specific to you.
Yeah.
You know, you have that trusted adult or something that may be in your school that may not be in your school.
Yeah.
Like there's always like something there, but it's just the idea of kids going to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And I think if kids don't know that something's there, they're not going to go looking for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we asked this question, but I was still curious for you. What can TSM do to be better for students? How can we be more present?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I think if you guys just get your name out there more, you know, keep traveling to those schools and keep doing, you know, those little things. Because like we kind of said earlier, like if kids don't know that a resource is available, kids aren't going to go looking for that resource. So whether that be like tutoring or just mental health stuff or just anything in general, if a kid is like, if a kid needs help but he doesn't know where to look for it, he's not going to go and try to look for it. He has to know that that resource is available. So I think, and you guys actually do a really good job of trying to make yourselves available at all times and just trying to get your name out there. But yeah, I think it just takes time, man.
Yeah.
Of just getting your name out there and growing the idea of TSM. But I think once that idea is grown, it is going to be something amazing and beautiful.
Thank you.
I really think it is.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Tyler, we just want to thank you for being here. We really
yeah, man.
appreciate you.
Love you guys.
Heck yeah.
So bring here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
To all the students out there watching this, thank you guys for what you're doing. We appreciate you. To all the teachers and staff and volunteers who are helping out with students, we also want to thank you and appreciate you guys for everything you're doing.
Love you guys. You guys are awesome.
You guys are amazing.
Shout out to those counselors.
Shout out to the
You
counselors.
guys work so hard and are so overlooked sometimes.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
For real. It's crazy. But yeah, love you guys.
Yes. One quick reminder, we are not counselors. We are not professionals.
I have no clue what I'm talking about, man. I'm just,
You have a little
I'm
bit
just
of
a
a
kid.
clue,
A
'cause you're a
little bit of a
student.
clue, but
From
end of the day, I'm just a kid, man.
everything we talk about from personal experience and stuff we've experienced and research, but we are not healthcare
We
professionals.
are not experts.
We are not experts.
We are far from experts.
Well,
Okay, I'm far from expert.
I'm pretty far from expert. But thank you guys for being here and watching. If you see someone you know is struggling or is in need of help, we have our resource page on our TSM website. If you see somebody who's in an immediate emergency, please call 911 because that is the best thing to do.
That is important.
That is very important. You can find our website at TucsonStudentMinistries.org. You can also find us on all of our socials, whether that's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, not Twitter, or TikTok. We are on all of those platforms. So please go drop us a follow, give us some likes. We would greatly appreciate it.
Like it up.
Would you like to pray us out?
I would love to pray us out. All right.
Thank you.
Dear God, thank you for this amazing day that you've given us. Thank you for this place that we can come and just film in. Thank you for TSM and the amazing outreach work that they've been doing in this community and just for all the little things. Thank you for all the little things in life, whether that be the sunrise or the sunsets and the morning and night. Thank you for sending your son down to die for us and for him being the greatest sacrifice of all time. Thank you for caring about us and being there for us, you know, and just to listen. God, you are the greatest friend and Father of all time. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And just as a reminder, students, we are here for you if you need anything. Thank you for being you. You are valued, you are loved, and we will see you next time.
Yes, sir.
Woo!
Yeah.